Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today we're taking a look at more Am I Overreacting? And as per usual, I'll be narrating the stories, giving my opinions at the end, and I implore all of you to do the same because I always do enjoy that audience interaction. So if you drink GamerSups, use code IZ at checkout. Am I overreacting for getting annoyed that my friend won't acknowledge me trying to help? So my best friend asked out the person she liked yesterday during lunch, and he said there was no hard feelings, he just wasn't ready for a relationship. We're in high school, by the way. She got really upset and wouldn't talk to anyone until the end of the day where she seemed to be a bit better. She did the same thing today, just completely quiet, and every time I tried to help, she just ignored me. She may not want my help and everything, which is why I'm posting this. I usually go into her classroom during 7th passing period because it's just up the hall from mine. I tried to talk to her, ask her if she wanted a hug, if she wanted me to do anything, etc., and she wouldn't even look at me. I'm a very low empathy person, so I probably don't understand this right. To me, it's not a big deal, and it's not something to cry over and withdraw from everyone, but I don't know if that's how you're supposed to feel. Am I overreacting for getting a bit annoyed? Edit, I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm trying to see if she needs help. I don't know, man. You said you're not trying to make this about you, but you ended it with, am I overreacting for getting a bit annoyed? So I can definitely see why people would assume that you're making this about you. Yes, I do think you're overreacting for getting annoyed with your friend who's currently in a lot of emotional turmoil because their crush rejected them. That is normal human behavior. It's gonna take them a bit of time to recover. That's just what it is. There's a pretty good chance that she's emotionally devastated because she asked someone out, got rejected, and is also probably embarrassed and doesn't want people to see her. And you're out here kind of trying to be a supportive friend, which is good. But if she needs space, she needs space. It's just one of those things where it's gonna take time for the brain to process all those chemicals and hormones. And she's also got to deal with you going onto Reddit asking if you're overreacting because you're annoyed with their behavior. I don't know, that feels a little odd. I'd be curious for audience input on this one, because these are high schoolers. I don't want to be too mean. Or, you do have the title being, am I overreacting for getting annoyed that my friend won't acknowledge me trying to help? So it sounds like you're more upset about the fact that your friend isn't acknowledging that you're doing a good deed or something? I don't know, your reasoning is all over the place. Maybe someone can shine a better light on this because I'm getting mixed messages here. Happy Panda 6500. Am I overreacting to the fact that my boyfriend told me he was too busy to start dinner? After 5 years of remote work, I got a new job, an amazing job, making much more. However, I have to go into an office. My boyfriend still gets to work at home. I knew this would be an adjustment for the both of us. I've done my best to prep things to make his transition as seamless as possible. My boyfriend said he would help me with little things now that I'm in the office. I do all of the cooking and have asked him multiple questions to gauge what he would be willing to help with, so I could plan meals accordingly. For 2 days now, I have asked if on Thursday when I was leaving work, he would just start boiling the potatoes for me. He said yes. He said just text him what he needed to do when I was leaving. Today I texted him, letting him know I was on my way home and asked, would you be so kind to preheat the oven and boil the potatoes? I'll do the rest. He responded, I'm busy. I said, okay, never mind. When I got home, I started the potatoes, preheated the oven, and went up to check on him. We said hi and made small talk, and I asked him why he didn't help me when he said he would. He then said he's not a homemaker and I'm the one who chose the office job and I needed to figure it out. And I reminded him that I asked him multiple times if he would help, and he said he would. He told me he was busy with something he couldn't take the time to help me. I then brought up all the times I took a pause at my old stay-at-home job to help him, and he said, I'm the breadwinner. You could take breaks. My job is more demanding. I was pretty pissed and didn't say anything and went back to making dinner and took him a plate. After dinner, I told him I felt like he owed me an apology, to which he said I was overreacting and leaving a pot of boiling water unintended was a fire safety hazard, which is why he didn't do it. I think he's being a dick, but I'm here for a third-party opinion. Am I overreacting? Adding info, I'm not a man-hating feminist as the people who have DM'd me have said. I don't mind traditional gender roles and do the majority of the cooking and cleaning. However, I would like help, as a fellow human and also respect. This is my biggest issue here. Yeah, no, you're fine. I don't think you're overreacting at all. He said he would help you, he didn't, and then he kind of belittled you in the process. Yeah, you have every right to be upset. A relationship takes both parties putting equal effort in to make it work, and he's not. Honestly, I don't even think the problem that you have with this situation is the fact that he didn't cook the potatoes, it's the reaction that he had to being confronted about it. Because if he was genuinely busy and was like, hey, sorry love, something came up and it just took a lot of concentration and time, I feel like that would have been a very different conversation than, I'm the breadwinner, my job is more demanding. Especially when you're coming home after a day at an actual office job, not a stay-at-home job, so there's a bit of a different dynamic now. Even if he is the sole breadwinner, you're still having a longer day with the commute, and the least he could do is preheat the oven, which isn't a fire hazard, and putting a pot of water on the stovetop. And I'm not buying that fire hazard excuse. That just, to me, as an adult who's used a stove a lot in my life, this just sounds like weaponized incompetence. Casa Mijer, am I overreacting to my husband driving into a water crossing and flooding our car? I'm 32 female and my husband, 33 male, went on a spur-of-the-moment camping trip with our 2 sons, 6 and 2.5. I stayed behind to work late and catch up on some projects. On the way there, he says he crossed a water crossing in the road. On the way back the next day, he said he tried to cross the same water crossing and it was deep. The water went over the wheels and into the car, terrifying my 6-year-old. Our car, our only vehicle, doesn't work now. My husband was not fully honest with me about the amount of water damage until they made it home. I then learned from my oldest that water was filling the car and up to his calves. My car is now fully dead and will cost a lot of money to repair if it is even salvageable. We don't have extra money because my husband was out of work for 18 of the past 24 months. I am upset that he endangered our children, that he lied about the severity of what happened, and that I'm now going to have to patchwork transportation for the foreseeable future to figure out how to get to work and my kids to daycare. I am angry and can barely speak to him. This also comes after he said he didn't need to take a defensive driving class that I suggested because I felt like he was overestimating his skills and our car's ability in taking unnecessary risks. I know that accidents and mistakes happen, but this is after years of having to pay for the consequences of his mistakes. I don't know if I can keep doing this. So, am I overreacting? Well, to me, from the ending there, it sounds like he's done a lot of more stupid shit that's not just this here. Defensive driving isn't gonna fix stupid mistakes. This is just careless. That's just all this is. I mean, even if, like, you guys don't need to total the car, you're gonna have water damage, it's gonna cause smell, you're gonna have mold problems. God knows what's gonna happen with the electrical. Those problems are never gonna go away. Then you're going to have damage to the engine bay, to possibly the wheel wells, and who knows what else is going to have water damage. The fact that water was inside means you're going to have mold problems. And, insurance companies normally just total out cars that do get flooded. That's pretty common practice. That's assuming, of course, you did report it to insurance and you're not paying out of pocket, because who knows if insurance would actually cover this kind of mistake or not. Plus, I know for a damn fact that they would definitely increase your premiums if you even dared to mention this to them. And this isn't even getting to the fact that he did endanger your children because the car got stuck in the middle of driving through the water and kept on flooding, with your 2.5-year-old being in a booster seat with the car actively flooding. That could have been very bad. So yeah, not overreacting in the slightest. This could have gone very bad. Thankfully it didn't. Thankfully everything went pretty well. Even though the car was flooded, your husband probably needs to get a job because he can't keep making boneheaded mistakes if he keeps doing this, because it sounds like this isn't the first time he's made a very expensive mistake while off of work, and I feel for you. Starshine Blues. Am I overreacting for moving out because my dad's girlfriend won't discipline her son? I, female 19, live with my dad, my brother, male 14, my dad's girlfriend Casey, and Casey's son, 9 male. Without getting into personal stuff, I don't live here as my dad's adult daughter. I'm more of a roommate than anything else. Anyways, Casey's son is out of control. He throws tantrums like a toddler when he doesn't get his way, screaming, crying, stomping, and slamming doors. He also spends hours on end screaming at video games. I cannot handle the screaming, and Casey refuses to do anything about it because it's just too difficult for her to discipline her child. She's a pushover and refuses to change her ways. So last night, I told her kid that he needed to be quiet. I had been listening to non-stop screaming for a solid 15 minutes. Cue Casey, coming into the hallway and telling me that I'm just going to have to deal with her son being loud because that's just what 9-year-olds do. Pardon my ignorance, but when has it ever been acceptable for children to scream inside of the house? I was told to use my inside voice whenever I got too loud, and from what I understand, so was everyone else. So I'm moving out. I'm going to live with my grandparents, and I gave my dad 3 months notice. And now he has to figure out how he's going to make up the difference without my rent money. Am I overreacting by moving out even though my dad said they can't afford to keep living here without my rent money? Edit to clarify a few things. KEYZ financially contributes. I gave 3 months notice because that's what my dad asked for. I know that isn't standard, 30 days is. I want to give him enough time to come up with the money so that they don't all have to move after I leave. This is mainly because I don't want my younger brother to have to move again right before he starts high school. Edit 2. I can't bring my brother with me, I can't afford to take him with me. And also, my bio mom and dad have split custody. Legally, my brother has to keep living with my dad half of the time. So this one is a night and day difference from the previous one that we had yesterday with the 20-year-old brother shaming his sister and his 5-year-old son, because this is a 9-year-old. A 9-year-old should, in most cases, know better. This is definitely a different situation, because on top of that, OP is more solution-focused and trying to look at a way to make life better for them without shaming others around them. They're actively looking at moving out, and in fact, they're giving their father 3 months notice that they're moving out. That is crazy. I think they're being perfectly reasonable. They're not overreacting at all. They, in one situation that we're aware of, there might be more going on of course, but they asked the 9-year-old son to, hey, you've been screaming for 15 minutes, could you please use your inside voice? Only to then be scolded by KEYZ, the child's mother, because it's just what 9-year-olds do. I definitely wasn't screaming inside when I was 9 years old. I was playing with Bionicles. But But I think this is a reasonable reaction, and this is night and day difference compared to the one that we had yesterday in the r/am I the devil. So, I'd like to hear what you all think. What a small bird. Am I overreacting for being upset that my neighbor with disabilities stole everything off my balcony? I'm currently moving out of my old upstairs apartment into a small mother-in-law MIL unit. I have until June 9th to get everything out, but I am now living full-time in the mother-in-law unit. In the old apartment building, there is a woman, calling her the woman from now on, who is 40, who has some developmental disabilities and a live-in caretaker, calling her the caretaker. They live in the front area of the building downstairs from me. I can look over my balcony and see inside their fenced-off patio with how the building is designed. I've always been cordial with them, saying hi, how are you, etc. And last week I was chatting with neighbors and the on-site manager about moving. The woman comes out and is asking me if I'm moving and where and how old I am. I answer. The downstairs neighbor for me tells me all the issues she's had with the woman. Women threatening to kill her, slamming doors to the laundry room, screaming at people with the caretaker just watching her do these things. I just think, oh, wow, that's wild, but I'm leaving, so who cares? Today, I go back to the apartment to grab something, and I see my balcony items are gone. A lounge chair, mini glass table, an over-the-railing planter, and over a dozen cute planter pots. I look around to see where they may have went and see my stuff in the women's patio. She's always commented on my flowers and how much she likes them, and now I'm upset. I go downstairs and knock on the door. The woman answers with the caretaker behind her. I sternly say, "Why are my things in your patio?" And the woman starts tearing up and hiding behind the caretaker. Caretaker is the only one talking to me. She continues that, "Oh, we thought you left," and the woman said that the manager here said we can take the stuff and you can't be mad at her because I helped take the stuff too. I said, the manager certainly didn't because he knows I'm here until June 9th, so I don't know who told you that. And the caretaker starts chastising me saying, okay, well she has disabilities and you should take this as a learning experience. And I cut her off, saying, I'm not learning shit from this. I just want the stuff you both stole from me and I'm just putting it in my car, so don't worry about my balcony. And the caretaker is continuing that I need to learn that other people don't perceive things the same and I shouldn't yell and I should be nice. And I'm just telling her that I straight up do not care, and even if I abandon stuff at the apartment, it's still not theirs, so there's no excuse to walk onto someone's balcony and take things. Eventually, I get all my stuff and I put it in my car. Another neighbor comes out and is pissed that the caretaker helped the woman steal from me and they should be glad I didn't press charges for theft. I just left after. I filed a complaint in my apartment's online portal, and I feel bad that the woman started crying, but I don't know if I overreacted. On one hand, yeah, she's got disabilities and such, but on the other, her caretaker openly told me she helped steal the items and theft is theft, so am I overreacting? No, you're not overreacting. This is actually insane. Your problem here is not the woman with a disability, as the caretaker gaslit you to believe. It's the caretaker. My opinion is, from the way that you've described it, the caretaker is actively using the women's disabilities as a way for them to get away with random shit, and essentially using it as a shield so that way you can't do anything about it and can guilt you. That's the way that this comes off to me. I would really love to hear audience input on this one, because in my eyes, this does feel like the caretaker is actively abusing and using this person with a developmental disorder to get away with random shit like this. Typhon M5. I threatened to quit if coworkers don't stop vaping around me. Am I overreacting? So, I don't know the effects of inhaling nicotine secondhand. Honestly, it could be harmless, but I don't have the energy or the desire to do some research. My job is very flexible, meaning that employees can step outside to smoke or vape as many times as they want, but there are employees who don't bother stepping outside and choose to vape inside instead. I told my manager that if they don't stop, I will have to put in my 2 weeks notice. He reacted a bit shocked and asked me if I'm not taking things a bit too far. I said I love my job, but my health comes before everything. The thing is, my bosses definitely love me and they are not willing to lose me, which means that I'm gonna have a few coworkers pissed at me. Do you guys think I'm overreacting? As a quick backstory, when I was in high school, vaping was becoming popular, and a lot of high schoolers were able to get their hands on vapes, usually secondhand or from other sources, and there was a whole kind of black market dealing going on. This was also when the age to buy nicotine was 18, so oftentimes the seniors would go out and buy vape jewel pods and sell them to other high schoolers, and massive black market pretty much. I never vaped, but a lot of kids would vape in class, so I'm kind of used to it. But at the time, there was no research to suggest that there was any harm to it, so I didn't mind it at the time. But recently, there is new research that suggests that the vape aerosols that are produced from vaping can actually be harmful to lungs. Granted, not nearly as bad as tobacco cigarettes, but it still does put your lungs at risk. This is actually new research that I was entirely unaware of. So I think it is definitely fair for you to be concerned about the effects on you from inhaling their vape juice. But just know they're probably gonna be upset with you. They're probably gonna be in a position where it's like, oh look, here comes Mr. Killjoy over here, walking back into work. Everyone put your vapes away. So you're gonna be seen as a killjoy in the office or environment where you're working at. I am not saying that your concerns are invalid or you have invalid reasoning. I'm just trying to be kind of blunt and honest with you here. You probably will be put in a position very soon where it's going to be, is the risks of vaping worth keeping this job? And that's gonna have to be a question you need to ask yourself. You need to do the research, you need to look into it. If you just full stop, don't even care, there's a risk, gotta leave this job, go for it. But if I'm gonna be honest with you here, I don't really think there's a chance or a reasonable way for you to get your coworkers to stop vaping inside. I just genuinely think that might be out of the question. AHG220, am I overreacting because my partner is a half-ass cleaner? As the title suggests, my partner half-asses cleaning. We split our household cleaning duties 50-50, but without fail, his half is poorly done. Cleans around things and not under, doesn't use enough cleaning product on the stove, so grease is just spread around, etc. This infuriates me to no end. I admit to not being the tidiest person and can leave things out at times, which he points out, but I have a really hard time with dirt. I work 50 hours a week and he averages 8 to 10. He owns 2 rental properties as most of his income. Today, he wasn't working and said he would clean our condo. Turns out, he only cleaned his half and left me to do mine, saying that cleaning wasn't his priority for the day. The last 2 weekends, I happily offered to clean everything so he could watch the NBA playoffs. Needless to say, today I was pissed. We got into a disagreement about this and he ended up cleaning the kitchen, but in his typical half-assed manner. The reason this all makes me so angry is that his shitty cleaning represents more work for me and I feel like he's disrespecting my time. Did I overreact by voicing my frustrations? So I too really understand drawing the line at dirt. For me, it's food stuff and dirt. Food in dirt are, if I find any of that, like if I'm walking in the kitchen and I step and I feel like crumbs or something, the entire kitchen is getting deep cleaned that day because that kind of stuff is where I draw a hard line. Now, I'll admit, I can also be a little bit messy in terms of leaving things out, because oftentimes the spaces that I'm in, they're more of a lived-in mess, where if I spent maybe 5 to 10 minutes, it would be perfectly clean, everything would be put away and organized, but just because of ADHD, when I take something out and do something, oftentimes I'm not sure if I'm going to come back to it, so it just kind of gets left out, and then I take care of it like in a couple weeks because I'm really bad about that. But it's never a mess that I can't just spend 5 minutes when I need to and getting it all cleaned up, if that makes sense. Personally, if I was living with someone, and this is hypothetical, who just wiped grease around and didn't actually do their cleaning part, also had their own messes, but pointed out when I asked to do cleaning that, oh, well, look at your mess over here, so therefore cleaning is not really needed, I'd be pretty upset. Especially with this individual working 50 hours compared to their partner's 8 to 10. If they said they were going to clean something, especially following a week where I did all of the cleaning while they watched the NBA playoffs and I came home, and if I found them playing like League of Legends or some shit and they only cleaned half the house, I'd be pretty mad. I would actually be pretty upset. A relationship requires two people, and he's only putting in half the effort. And then that doesn't even get into the like weaponized incompetence that's happening here, where Hygh cleans his half but does it messily, where he just grabs a wet damp cloth and runs it over the countertop, knowing you'll come back and actually properly clean it, so he doesn't have to put the actual work in. This is what I see is happening. I know people do this, and yeah, I don't think you're invalid in the slightest for voicing your concerns. I would like to hope that this man isn't some kind of like grown toddler who just doesn't understand how to clean, because that would definitely suck. Considering that he actively just spreads kitchen grease around and calls it good. That's a pretty hard mistake to make, because grease is gross. Grease sticks around. If you don't clean grease properly, you'll know, because it'll still be there. So it almost feels like he just wipes it around and knows you'll come back around to clean it up. You could also just take the disgruntled parent approach, and every time he half-asses the cleaning, just act like he didn't actually do any work and say, hey, I thought you were going to clean the kitchen. So if he says he did, you can show him the grease that's remaining and be like, nope, you didn't. You very clearly did not clean the kitchen. Do it again. Make it absolute hell. You need to make it so that way his half-ass cleaning is more effort than actually doing it right the first time. It's how you teach children. Locker room choir. Boyfriend, 38 male, angrily canceled our vacation. I'm holding him to his word. Am I overreacting? Long story short, my boyfriend, 38, and I, 33, got into an argument this past week, and he decided to cancel our vacation we had been planning for 5 months. Boyfriend is the type of person who says mean shit when he's mad. He'll say that I'm not his daughter's parent, and I'm not, I'm infertile, and then ask me to watch her for a week while he's at work. He'll call me a bitch in front of her and say I'm no better than her mother, who's a crackhead. Daughter will even go with me when he's mad, and it's the three of us, so her dad / my boyfriend won't leave me. A couple of days ago, he was getting on to me for being too busy the past couple of days. I had prior engagements and a class I needed to be at since it was the last one of the year. I had told him that I was going to be busy, but I guess he didn't hear it. Somehow, our vacation got brought into it, and this happened right in front of his preteen daughter. He decided to cancel the vacation because he believed we wouldn't be getting along and it would be a miserable 2 weeks. That this vacation was going to be a make or break us trip. It really did hurt my feelings to hear him say that. Very calmly, I replied, so we're not going on the trip. To which he replied, yep, we're not going. You've got too much responsibility on the farm. So I said, that's fine. We can celebrate daughter's birthday then since we'll be home. He said he'll do something with her, not me. Before he went back to work, we talked about how I don't like the flip-flopping and how hard it is to keep up with what he says. We also talked about how we're not going because of what he said. Now, a couple days later, he's back at work and acting like he never said we weren't going. He packed his bags and started packing all the supplies we need. He keeps bringing up this vacation like we're still going to go on it, even though we're not. Am I overreacting for holding him to his words? Edit, thank you everyone for the outpouring of support. I know a lot of people will look at this and be like, just leave or he's abusive. And I hear you, but sometimes it's just not that easy. I do find it hilarious that the assumption is that I live with him though. I have my own property and he lives with me. I'm sure I'll catch some flack for this, but he's not always like this, which is what makes it hard. 85% of the times he is loving and being my biggest cheerleader. He helps me with things I can't physically do and will listen to me vent. He also financially supports me. I think holding him to his word is important here because it helps teach him that he can't just make claims and accusations like this and then expect it just to go over everyone's head and act like nothing actually happened. You need to hold his feet to the fire here. And yeah, as you said, it's not that easy. It is a frustration of mine when people talk about how, oh, just leave him. Oh, just do X, Y, and Z. Oh, just do that. It's never that easy. Also, never move in with him. The moment you move in, you're trapped, and it's gonna be even harder to leave if you have to. And sure, that traffic light might be green 85% of the time, but you need to keep an eye out for when that red starts becoming more common, because sometimes, or a time might come, where it'll change red and never change back, and you need to keep an eye out for that. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.